Damir, thank you so much for helping me in my project. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Damir. I'm 35-year-old software engineer from Serbia, and I live in Belgrade in Serbia. And yeah, and that's about it. I mean, I was always in engineering, and I also love sports, practicing, watching. I love cars, the usual. I love partying. I'm a big fan of techno music. So I like going for like all night long parties and things like that. Yeah, I guess that
Um,
would be me.
that's pretty awesome. Let's see, just a couple of further details about those things. So have you always been a software engineer?
Yes, yes. I mean, when I was younger, I actually wanted to do aeronautics, like construction of planes, of rockets and things like that. But along the way, I switched into computers. And yeah, I guess I am. I mean, I did different things like I was scuba diving instructor. I was like, like smaller jobs, but my occupation during my life is mostly software engineering, some sort of. Sometimes I'm more system engineer, sometimes I'm writing software, but it's always something related with computers.
And what's your favorite programming language?
Perl. Perl is my
Perl.
first, yeah, that's my first programming love. The first language that I actually like learned when I was 15 years old. And that was also something that I did as my job for like next 10 years, mostly Perl programming. So I didn't do Perl in a while, like probably 10 years. And it's funny because like last week we had some problem at our work, and I was trying to find a solution, and the best solution was like 10 lines of Perl script, which solves the problem. And I felt strange because I didn't write Perl for so long that I couldn't remember like the most basic things. I had to Google it again, how it's done. But very soon I was like with big smile on my face and like, yes, I'm doing it again. So yeah, I would say that Perl is like for a long time was more like language of choice for me, but in the recent years it's more like Python, and this company where I work for the last 10 months is Go language. So now I have to be proficient in that as well. And I like it. I mean, I like the whole language, the way it's designed. So I guess that's going to be my tool in the future, unless Perl can do it.
That's awesome. But I think it goes to show that it's better to know something really well than to know the latest thing.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I would agree but in the same time, whenever you have some new technology, there is a reason why it was created. Probably because the existing technologies were not able to solve some problems. That's why it's good to keep your mind open. You should always, like every year or two, you should try something completely new, completely different, just so that you expand your ideas, possible ideas. Because when you have a hammer, everything is a nail. And by actually having more hammers in your tool set, you will be able to use the correct one for correct problem. You should never be like religious. Many people are like, I do C and I do nothing else. No, that's cool, but there are some things that can be done more efficient in other languages. So it's just a tool. But yeah, I mean, now I'm contradicting myself because I actually like Perl a lot. But in the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm going to use it always, no matter what. I'm still open to different solutions.
Yeah, I bought a programming book about maybe 10 years ago called 7 Languages in 7 Weeks. And it took 7 very different types of languages and kind of had you see, what their unique strengths were, which I thought was kind of a neat idea.
Yeah, I know the book. I know. I think Haskell is one of them, and I was trying to like play with Haskell from that book. Yeah.
So you said you like techno music and going to techno parties.
Yes.
Uh, and I was wondering what you thought the experience of doing something like that in a weightless environment might be like. Do you think that'd be like completely new and different? Is it exciting, more fun? What do you think it'd be like?
I think that my spine and my legs will be grateful forever. Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, I like techno music and I like that kind of parties because music really takes me, like into different space. Very often, just like to close my eyes and not even looking around myself. I don't care. I just keep my hands in front of me so that somebody doesn't bump into me. But I close my eyes and I'm completely out of my body. I'm not thinking about anything, just the rhythm and nothing else. So actually being in in space without gravity would be even more compelling to that. And also, yeah, I mean, you get tired, after 12 hours of dancing, you do feel tired. And I think that being in outside without gravity would help a lot. So sign me up.
There's a company called ZeroG, and they have a plane that they moved all the seats out from inside, and it's padded, and it does this hyperbolic
Yeah, yeah.
flight. So you're going to be floatless, weightless on during about 30 seconds at a time. Well, they did some special thing where they had like a kind of like a rave party in this plane with like a DJ and people in there. So they would be weightless for like 30 seconds at a time. So maybe not the best party experience, but
It still sounds amazing because first you're free falling for 30 seconds, and then when you start climbing, you're probably like completely jammed to the floor of the plane, waiting for you to get up and then fly again. And yeah, it's quite a roller coaster ride. It does sound good.
and you have experience as a scuba diver instructor, so you're used to having to bring your own air and be in environments where um, you sort of have to provide for even that bare basic need of just being able to breathe. What was that like?
Uh, it's very interesting experience. I mean, many people say that scuba diving is like adrenaline sport, and I don't see it that way because I'm never super pumped when I'm doing that, but I feel free because when you're under the water, you can go wherever you want. Like you see something which is beneath you 10, 30 feet, and you're just like, okay, you go there and you see what it is, and then oh, there is something over there, and then you go there, and you can go in any direction. And that's what I really like about it. That's complete freedom of movement, which is, I guess, a lot similar to being in the space. And but I don't know. I mean, I'm not thinking that that's the good thing about scuba diving because you're always breathing the air, which is on exactly the same pressure as your surroundings. So you don't feel any like you don't need any strength to breathe. You're breathing completely normally. And I even forget that I have that thing behind me. Like, just okay, I'm here, I'm underwater, and it's working. I completely disconnect from the fact that I'm actually inside, under the surface of the ocean, God knows how deep. And so I'm not thinking about the equipment that much. If I were thinking about the equipment all the time, it wouldn't be really pleasure. And especially when I'm like guiding other people, taking them with me, then I need to think about their equipment. That's actually what I'm thinking about it. But when I'm doing it, I'm fine.
Do you still go scuba diving?
I try to go at least once a year. I mean, I'm not going as much as I used to uh, because since I got married last year and before that, we were traveling a lot, but most of our trips were to non-scuba diving locations. And scuba diving requires time, like you need to take a week off to go to some nice place and then enjoy it for a week. And for some reason, no, we didn't do that much. Although my wife, she's also a scuba diver. We went together at Maldives last year on our honeymoon, and also diving with sharks. It was quite an experience. I mean, I like it. And also with this pandemic, for the last 6 months, we've been nowhere. So yeah, for now, we just want to stay alive.
And indeed, it's really amazing how this pandemic thing has shaped up, and it feels like there's no end to it.
Yeah, that is the thing. Because for some time we were hoping that it's almost over and we're going back to normal. But then now we have second wave and numbers are picking up again in Serbia. And I read that also like in China for months they were like, oh, nothing's going on here. It's all cool. And now in Beijing, they have increased number. They decided to shut down the whole capital of China. And I am sure that things that are happening right now through US, then summer season in Europe, where people will go to seaside no matter what, will once again reset the whole progress we made and start all over in September, October. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad.
It seems like until we get a vaccination, you really can't have any hope.
Yeah, but it might take years, because vaccine itself is not going to protect everybody. We still need to have like immunity through the whole world. And that will take time, because even now many people don't trust their governments. So even if there is a vaccine and it's like, yeah, let's vaccinate everybody, I'm sure that there will be a bunch of people that they simply won't take it. So yeah, we have plenty of problems. We need to we need to create a vaccine, and then it's going to be even harder to actually get everybody vaccinated. But yeah, I mean, we can be happy that we have so many vaccines for other diseases, because if we don't have all these vaccines, any disease would be same as this, would like wipe half of the world. So
exactly. This is not the worst, it's not the first, and it's not the last.
yeah, exactly. I mean, today's world is very connected, so it's really hard to contain any disease in a small space, because 100 years ago you have Spanish fever, and it took a long time to spread through the world. It's really hard, and now you have some guy ate a bat in China, and 2 weeks later you have cases all over the world, and you can't control it. Like it's impossible. So yeah, I'm sure this is the first, but definitely not the last time that we see diseases such as this one.
Yeah, I mean, used to, when it took several weeks or maybe even months to ride on a boat to go between places, if by the time the boat got into harbor, there were sick people, they would quarantine the boat. If they were well, they're probably well, they've been only with themselves for the past time. But now with an airplane, you could fly around the world in 24 hours. And
go ahead.
And SpaceX is working on building a point-to-point rocket that can literally take you to any place in the world in like 30 to 40 minutes. So, you have one person sneeze in a city, and literally it's spread around the world in just a few hours. So
yeah, it's interesting what I'm following, because still, as I said, I used to be very interested in aeronautics, so I'm still following the news to see what they're doing. And it's interesting as a concept, what SpaceX is trying to do, like those flights through upper layers of atmosphere, or even outside of the atmosphere. But I think it's going to be really expensive option. Like I don't think that anybody will ever say, okay, well, let's actually do this day to day. It's almost going to be like Concorde, you know. You have this super fast plane that can fly from Paris to New York in just 3 hours, but you don't really want to take it for every flight, like once in a while, just for the experience. But it's never going to be like super popular.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, you know, because there weren't that many Concorde planes produced. And the Starship that SpaceX is building, they're expecting to actually be able to manufacture 2 of them per week and use each one like 3 times per day. So, you know, whenever you start getting to like those economies of scale, there's really a big opportunity to drive a lot greater efficiency than you can with, say, you know, a fleet of 4 Concorde planes, and you're not really sure you want to keep them anyway. You know.
But the question is, why did we have only, we had like a dozens of Concords, but why we had only dozen? Because there was no interest. You know, if you had a market demand, if you had thousands and thousands of people that want to fly Concorde every day and that can actually afford a $20,000 ticket from New York to Paris, planes would be built. As simple as that. This is market economy. If there is demand, somebody will provide it.
Maybe, but people have to envision it first. It's hard to want what you can't even dream of. And how long did it take for the Concorde to go from Paris to New York?
Yeah, I think it was 3 hours, something like that. 2 hours and 30 minutes, 3 hours.
And how long is a normal flight?
Double that, like
So,
6 hours.
you know, people are like, I'm gonna have to be on the plane anyway, let's just make it more comfortable. But what if you went from having, you know, a 18-hour flight to a 30-minute flight? I mean, that's a huge difference.
It definitely is, but I completely agree that from technological side it will be amazing. But if you look like trends in current airlines, they're actually slowing down the planes, because 20, 30, 40 years ago, planes were flying 950 kilometers per hour. Now they're flying 750. Because at 750, you're traveling 30% longer, but you're saving like 50% fuel. And if you ask people like, would you like to fly from Belgrade to Canary Islands for 50 euros for 6 hours, or you want to fly for 5,000 euros for 5 minutes? There are way more people that will say, I have 50 euros, but I don't have 5,000. You know, so actually, I think that it only makes sense if it's affordable. If actually it's great from a technological side, you know, it's amazing achievement to be able to fly from Sydney to New York in like 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But if it costs $50,000 or $100,000 per passenger, you have very limited number of billionaires in this world that will be able to afford such tickets.
That's true, but they think they could be profitable at the equivalent first class airline ticket price. So if they're able to achieve that, and you're like, I could spend this amount, be on the plane, I got the reclining bed, I got the food and what have you, but it's gonna take me 18 hours. Or I could have like the Spartan service, but I'm there in 30 minutes. I think if they're able to do it at that price, you'd see a big shift.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I never flew first class, so the further I went so far was some business light or something. So I don't really know, but yeah, definitely there are people who would pay thousands of dollars. So, and yeah, every technology as it's advancing, simply the plane tickets now are cheap because there is 40, 50 years of development behind it, and everything that actually made it possible to fly that cheap. So I guess in 20, 30, 40 years, we will actually be in a position that we will flying from end to end of the world in just an hour for a smaller amount of money. One step at a time, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, talking about going places, did you know that NASA is planning to send people back to the moon in 2024?
I heard about it, and it's interesting. I mean, going back to moon, because for a long time, since 1969 and 70, 72, 30, I don't know when was the last mission with people didn't go back. So it would be interesting, but I'm always like curious, what exactly is, like, what's the goal of such mission? Like, is it just showing, yes, we can still do it? Like we are able, you know, like for bragging rights, or there is some idea behind it?
Well, several things. One is we know a lot more about the moon now. Like there's water ice in these permanently shadowed craters on the poles, which could be a really strategic resource to support other space exploration. It could be used for rocket fuel, for air for your astronauts, and water, of course. The other thing is there's a lot to learn about the Earth on the moon. Literally every hour there are dozens and dozens of meteors hitting the Earth. Most of them burn up in the atmosphere. The ones that don't, most of them land in the ocean. And the ones that land on land, sometimes we're not able to find them. And then over time, they get weathered and grown over. But the moon has been traveling through the same space as the Earth, and it doesn't have an atmosphere, and it doesn't have weather. So literally, it is like a pristine historical record of these things that have been hitting the Earth. And we could go and find out what were they made of, and how big are they over time, and that may help us to better judge the risk going forward of having some type of civilization ending like meteor hit the Earth. And the other thing is, have you heard of rare earth metals?
Yeah.
So they're actually not from Earth, they're actually from meteors. And those same meteors that have hit China and Africa that are being mined, and created those deposits have also hit the moon. So it may not be so rare once we, go and figure out those resources. And, the other thing is, I think when you have humans routinely going to the moon and seeing the Earth and how small and fragile it is and how huge everything else is, I think that might help us understand the opportunity that space represents. And what do you think about that last point?
I'm not optimist, honestly, because with all the achievements, like we've been to moon 50 years ago, and now you have increasing number of people who think that Earth is flat. And it obviously didn't help, and you can't take every single person from Earth and take them to moon and see, you see, like it's not flat, you can see it's round. It's not feasible with 7 or 8 billion people. So yeah, I mean, people who are already aware of how big the space is, they will be delighted by it, because it's going to be amazing for them. But people who are ignorant are just staying ignorant. I can't remember who said, like, smart person watching into into stars go crazy, and fool falls asleep. I can't remember who said it, but it makes sense, because for somebody who is already open-minded, who is interested, they don't need to go to moon to realize how small we are in the space and how fragile Earth is. And those that don't care, like, you can show them all the proofs you want, they will still be in their own bubble doing whatever. So
I would wager that the ones that don't care probably don't achieve that much anyway. I mean, if you could just work with the willing, you could probably achieve a lot more.
yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the most important thing for the whole world is actually education. I think that education is something that needs to be accessible to everybody. I mean, I'm lucky in Serbia, we had like elementary school and high school, which is you have to go by law. You have to go. And then after that, if you want to go to college, for 50% of people, it's completely free. And for other 50% that they have to pay, they are paying like $1,000 per year. So it's really cheap and affordable. And with education, you actually open eyes of people, you know, you broaden their views of the world. So I think that lack of education is root of many problems through the world. Things that are happening right now in USA. That's in my opinion, the problem is lack of education. Because if people are educated, you're allowing people to get a good jobs, to get a good life, to get a good health for them. And when you have all that, then you are more satisfied as a person. And when you're more satisfied as a person, there is less reason to hate anybody or to be unsatisfied about everything, you know. And when you're just caught in a rat race, you're doing something you don't know why for your whole life. Of course, you're going to be pissed off at everybody. And you're going to be part of the problem instead of solution. So for me, that's the most important thing for everybody, like to get access to education and to healthcare. That's for me the biggest game changer in the whole world.
I think you're right, and I think, you know, the internet provides a mechanism to deliver both of those things. But there's a lot of places in the world where internet access is not available and what have you. What do you think about like Starlink and, you know, creating that constellation of thousands of low orbiting satellites that provide high bandwidth all around the globe? Um, yeah, actually, unfortunately, I have to go attend a meeting now, but I really appreciate the time talking with me. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we end the call?
No, it was a pleasure talking to you, definitely. And I hope we have a chance to talk again sometimes, maybe face to face with beer in our hands.
That sounds awesome. I would love to come visit Syria, and you're welcome to Houston anytime.
Thank you. I hope we'll see each other soon.
Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.